is in the southern city of Rafah.
The people who own these projects, their houses had been destroyed since 2002, and they are all the time. They are in rented places. We paid millions of dollars, as rent for those people.
So at last, the gravel rolls into Gaza, and a number of UN projects will finally begin. But for the private sector, cement and stones are still banned by Israel. In their case, the only option is to smuggle in supplies or once again use recycled stone. Nicole Johnston, AlJazeera at Sufa Crossing.
Thailand's so-called red shirts will take to the streets this weekend, almost a year since mass protests which ultimately failed to bring down the government. Almost 90 people were killed in the unrest, and many of the victims' families are still looking for answers. Wayne Hay reports from Bangkok.
For almost a year, Pansak Sitep has been looking for answers, searching for someone to own up to killing his son.
What we want is the truth, but so far there have been no words offered.
17-year-old Samapan was shot in the head after he went to get a first-hand look at the unfolding military crackdown on anti-government protesters in Bangkok. On the outskirts of the capital city, his home has been transformed into a makeshift shrine to a young man who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Pansak now spends much of his time on the internet trying to find out why an apparently unarmed person was killed by, he alleges, the army.
He was unarmed. The only thing he had on him was his cell phone and a helmet. They were the only things found next to his body.
The images of soldiers firing live rounds on the streets of Bangkok are still fresh in the minds of most Thais. They came out to disperse the red shirts who tried to force the government out. The administration of Prime Minister Abhisit Wetchachiwa survived and is now preparing for an election sometime in the next few months. It maintains its soldiers didn't kill any innocent civilians.
We are not to be blamed. We didn't initiate the use of weapons on any civilians at all. This is what we stand. The soldiers only defend themselves.
Since the crackdown, the government's Department of Special Investigation has only come up with a few details publicly about some of the more than 90 deaths. The government also set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to look into the violence. Its first report was due in January. Nothing was released. The wait is too long for families of the victims, some of whom are conducting their own searches for the truth. Pansak also wants the government to say sorry for the death of his son. He's not expecting to receive either. Wayne Hay, AlJazeera, Bangkok.
Well, you can keep up to date with all the news and watch our programmes on our website. That's at aljazeera.net/English. Do stay with us if you can. More news coming up after the weather.
As the fog hangs warily over London, we can always offer you the perfect pick-me-up.
Across the United States on Wednesday, we saw 16 tornadoes touch ground across the southern part of the United States, all due to this frontal boundary moving through. Now, as we go into Friday, not much of a chance of severe weather, so we're going to be seeing some clear skies there. Dallas looking fairly nice at about 23 degrees into their forecast, but up towards the northwest, very heavy rain showers in the forecast all the way from Vancouver down towards parts of Seattle, and also snow across the north central part of the United States as well. Let's make our way down to South America. We're going to be seeing some very heavy rains all the way from Rio and inland. They saw quite a nice carnival. Some showers were in their forecast, but now heavier rains are going to be pushing in. They're also going to be pushing down through parts of Uruguay and into Buenos Aires over the next couple of days. Also, unfortunately, more heavy rain is going to be in the forecast for La Paz. They had seen mudslides and landslides this past week, and more rain does not mean good news for them, unfortunately. High temperature of 13 degrees there. As we make our way towards Europe, the big story in Europe, of course, was a big snowstorm that went through Greece and then into Turkey. We saw immense amounts of snow in the region, up to about 200 millimeters of snow. They're going to be clearing out over the next couple of days, but the snow is still going to be a problem for traveling there.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Mental disorders affect millions of Chinese citizens. But with a chronic lack of support, is this a social time bomb threatening to leave victims and broken families in its wake? 101 East, at this time on Al Jazeera.
To intervene or not to intervene.
A no-fly zone begins with an attack on Libya.
As NATO draws contingency plans,
including potential military options,
and Europe seeks UN authorization,
the current UN mandate does not authorize the use of armed forces.
We ask, is a no-fly zone just the beginning?
Once again, we are being tested.
And how will military interference affect Libya and the revolution beyond? Empire, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Libyan rebels retreat from the oil town of Ras Lanuf as Muammar Gaddafi's forces step up their assault. Hello, I'm Laura Kyle. This is Al Jazeera live from Doha.
This is our country. We will never ever give up, and we will never ever surrender.
Libyan leader's son warns of an all-out assault to crush rebel fighters. France and Britain come out fighting, saying Gaddafi must step down and the EU should prepare to help the opposition rebellion. Also ahead, Saudi police open fire as protesters gather. The call is out for even bigger rallies on Friday. International pressure is growing on Muammar Gaddafi and his government. Arab Gulf states have now joined many Western countries in their condemnation of the Libyan regime. And the battle for control within the country is intensifying. Gaddafi's forces have launched new counterattacks in key rebel-held regions. Al Jazeera's Tony Bertley sent this report from Ras Lanuf.
Confident and determined, the opposition fighters in Ras Lanuf prepare for a fight against the might of Gaddafi's forces. This was a day that their resolve would be put to the test. A soldier implores his brothers not to waste their ammunition. Save your bullets for the fight, he pleads. That fight was just a short time away. Midday prayers in the battle zone, and the anxiety is plain to see. Away from the bravado, all of these men know the strength of the powerful enemy they are facing. Soon after, that power was unleashed. In prolonged artillery and mortar barrages.
Bombard the city so the people they will flee away.